Alright, so guys, this is a basic like graph thing, like it's like a mind map for what my career path might be detailing for me. But for the record, it's just at least me brainstorming for certain ideas I happen to have in my head about what not. I could probably explain throughout this video what it is. This is like three bullet point streams going up to dawn about something that kind of relates to what my career path is trying to tell me, or like things along that nature. It's very vague. The ideas in this list are creative and abstract, but they happen to tell a lot of truth about what I want to do in my life. So let's get right into it. First, we got the rally point streamer, and it goes all the way down until it gets to a word that says potential. Now, the rally point, the idea behind it is that it happens to be a way I see how I want to orient my lifestyle and my career path at the same time. Lifestyle being possibly things like social circles, like friendships and relationships with other people and career workplace people, as well as the career oriented things about it, which would be like not so much direct or indirect matter, but like career oriented competitive lifestyle would be like things where I do my job in a certain way. So with the rally punch specifically for those bubbles, trying to tell you that with this flag here in the mossy greens area, that's the idea behind a rally point, in my opinion. Is like when you gather things together, ideas and groups of people and things together and events into one place, and then you arrange them from organize them differently from there at that point forward. The very first time I heard about the rally point was when I played Travian a long time ago, not too long ago, but years ago, whatever. And they had a structure in the map of your town called the rally point. You need the rally point in order to send troops to and from your village to other locations in the game map. And it's a very simple thing to make, but it's also the only time you ever need it is for each village you have. And the rally point is interesting because you have a way to organize things in a very simple yet inspiring manner. And that's me being vague again, but so there's the rest of the video going to be. Unfortunately, I'm sorry, but yeah. So the rally point does that. We got here this apple and orange between a splice in the middle that opens a door in the middle. So normally when we think of apples and oranges, we think about things that happen to not making sense with each other or are completely different from each other, and comparing them would be pointless otherwise. But here I got a door open in the middle of the splice, meaning that in this case of the rally point, we do in fact compare apples and oranges. And we have to make sure that we know how to do this properly without confusing too much of the point of avoiding apples and oranges comparisons or contrasts. But that's one of the potentials and inspirations behind the rally point is that you have the way to open the door to apples and oranges being compared if even that example is specific enough. But it opens the door to comparing and contrasting things that have nothing to do with each other, such as a brand deal like maybe like with the clean supply from Dawn having a brand deal with Nike, the sports shoes brand, and they may be brands that have nothing to do with each other, but they're still items to begin with, and they happen to have a relationship in that regard. And not even just about like comparison, but to have like a sports shoe and a cleaning supply, compare and contrast in that manner, you can learn more from each other than even if you would have if you only compare and contrast it with things that are relevant to you, which is not going to be too logical even then, in my opinion. But yeah, moving on, we got the man holding the turntable, holding the spinner, and that's not a cake, by the way. That's a spinner. He has the spinner on the plate because this is my idea behind something I call the spinner template, and that is something where you have compared to things like specialism and generalism, we have the spinner template or a spinning templation or whatever you call it, without bringing my grammar. But like the spinning template, the idea behind it is that instead of focusing on one thing at a time or everything spread thinly, you have a system where you can work with a certain group of things and not go full forward into them, but still make more progress with them. And there's a whole gambit about this I can explain in another video, but that was the latest idea, was a spare template. We have this monster under the bed at night kind of thing over here. I think what I was trying to illustrate with this picture was I was trying to make sure that he was trying to represent unfathomed hidden potential for something that we misunderstand as being evil, crude, whatever, or stupidity, whatever. But that's the biggest idea of that, is that it's potential that we hide under the rug because we don't gather ideas through our rally point. And so if the consequence of not doing that is by throwing things under the rug, per se. and we don't get to see the potential as often as we would want to. There are a lot of things, including with insight, I'll get to in a second, that we do not give a chance to because we're too afraid of what they'll mean. But between even the potentials of the Pandora box being opened or the Schrodinger's cat being fulfilled, there are potentials that we really screw over that don't have to be shallow advancement of technology in the culture of our world and environment at large. It doesn't have to be like that all the time. I see the world differently in that regard. Not as many other ways, but you know. And finally, we got the word potential at the bottom of rally point. Rally pointing really does seem to be a potential kind of thing. We have a lot of potential coming through with a kind of system where we can gather things together and disperse them in other ways afterward, in fact, and then orient that differently altogether. There is a lot of potential to be had with a successful rally point in our culture, which I'm about to get to. We have this system, this second streamer saying, insight culture, going through the other bubbles, going down to the word beauty. Now, this streamer, I'm going to have to get to right now. Sorry, but that's the definition of the rally point always. The rally point was the system of things that we organize and disperse in different ways to orient our environment and whatnot and our strategies. Insight culture. This is a book, a blue book, with a crown floating above it. And with insight culture, the idea behind that was that you get to as well as the word beauty at the very bottom, which we'll approach at that point. The idea of insight culture is that we have to give things that are beautiful a chance to be inspiring to us. We have to make sure that we have an environment that embraces new ideas and gives them a chance to shine, even if they're dangerous to begin with, or even worse, for that matter. They have to be given a chance, in my opinion. They have to be given a chance to be oriented, maybe perhaps disciplined, but oriented nonetheless, where we don't hide from the things that will make us shine and will actually mean something to us in a very beautiful way. They have meaning. They do. So that's me being vague. Throughout the video, as I was saying over and over. Insight culture. We got this numbers list over here. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 has the cancel mark next to it. The 5, 3, 2, 9, 7 has the check mark next to it. What do I mean by this bubble? It's simply that we don't go based on simple metrics or even quantification metrics that usually when we see technology, sometimes what they do is that they'll double the storage of something over time, over and over, or they'll follow a system that they think is the only way it can work or only way it can be effective. I can tell you with insight that you do not have to think of things being the only way or the right way or the right thing at all times. Sometimes it may be a little complicated even to concern whether or not something is simple or complicated, or whether or not something is the right or best thing to do. And that's my philosophy speaking from not great half. But I would rather prefer, if even by preference, to have a system where I can go through something in my own order, even if it's not the right or appropriate way to do it. But that's how I would do it. So, and I would explain that further. I'm trying to do my best to explain that with my magic word but I'll get that over the time, I guess. I guess. So we got the hourglass with the question marks in the middle with no sand being supported in the hourglass. This hourglass is a representation of the idea that if we don't know what time it is or how we're pacing ourselves, how do we move forward? And the answer to that is that we shouldn't have to have that time in the first place. Deadlines, as important as they are, as crucial as they are, they don't have to make or break you. They really don't. And that is my philosophy. I don't care if that's fatal to have as philosophy, but that's just me. It's like the time that we have to make or even use, for that matter, making is more insightful in some regards, but it doesn't have to always be like that. Not even that kind of insight, I guess. But with the hourglass being questioned, it's like, yeah, you don't have to pace yourself that way. Your pacing is up to you to decide. You get to make your own decisions based on how you think things should or should not be, or even have to be, or cannot possibly be. That is what time would mean to me. So, we got the mirror below, reflecting an image. Yeah, it's not a window, it's a mirror. I just wanted to be clear with the other point. But yeah, the mirror reflection, at the previous time I wrote on this dry erase board, I actually made a whole chromoglyph section and wrote reflective master of illusions, which is an idea of a movie I had a long time ago. Long story short, or even recent years actually. Long story short is that film was based on the idea of insight and insight culture perhaps. But the mirror was one of the biggest parts of being reflective, is that you literally have to make sure that if you're being reflective, that you actually are not necessarily being contrary or impulsive, but you actually make a reflection of what things could be, whether they are in the reality already or whether they have potential to exist or potential to be inspiring even if they can't possibly exist. And that's the idea behind the mirror. So we got beauty at the very bottom. Beauty, in essence, can come from insight. And I think you can actually determine that very well if you give insight a chance. That is my biggest gambit about this whole thing. Give insight a chance and the beauty will come. So we got now sustainable wisdom. Look at the words because it's too long in this one. Sustainable wisdom, we got this hammer with a brain. And it's not necessarily going to hit the brain, I guess I was the main idea, but sustainable wisdom, the idea behind it is that you have a way to prove that some objective truths or facts actually exist and can never change, or that this subjective morals and subjective emotions that may be pointless but can still be even truths, or may be different for every single person as told in every other wisdom or less subjective than this. But the idea behind there are some really good videos on YouTube already explaining the difference between objective and subjective. But with sustainable wisdom, my approach was to have something similar to the Spartan template, which was to have a wisdom that actually stuck together, even if it was still going to be fragile and volatile in the future to come. Because even if it were to break down from some kind of entropy, I have a big gap about how entropy works, even in my own philosophy. Like, I don't necessarily believe in entropy or karma or things of that nature, but it's actually how I see it. I'll explain that in another video I need to, but, sustainable wisdom. Things that will last, even if they don't have to be invincible. And they don't. That's my big philosophy was, you are neither doomed nor invincible. And I love that philosophy. I would probably keep that on my top 10 advices for age 25, as I turn 25 this year. Thank gosh. But no, I guess seriously, sustainable wisdom. We got the eye over here with the eyelashes. Not much going on here, other than the fact that it's just a very detailed eye. But eye for insight, I guess. Like we said, with insight culture, insight would be a very blessed thing. Not just a beautiful thing, but a blessed thing to have for wisdom. You have to really consider that the wisdoms that you get from far away can still be just as useful as ones from up close. So then we got the wrench, and then we have that wrench is just by itself. I was going to put a screwdriver next to it, but I didn't want to screw too much with that. The wrench is going to represent either results or repairs, and I think the repairs would make more sense for the wrench, but results is definitely understandable too. When we have results and repairs can seem from a pointlessness of if it ain't broken, don't fix it, or kind of thing. Like in the shallow point or the being relevant to repairs, but with results, I think there was a big thing about the world saying that the world only cared about results, or that you should only have entertainment or education or even inspiration. It's like, come on, guys. My philosophy can break this too much, but even then, I'm not that lost in the void, I guess you could say. Anyways, it was going to lead from that to the hairdo, and the last thing I'll say about the wrench and the eye is that the inside is definitely important for being your idea of insight being a system of wisdom, and the wrench being the results and repairs being useful for a what do I say about this? It's gonna be good for like noticing that things that are concrete in the world, that are discrete in the world, they don't have to just be that way. But that's just me. That's why I would put this in the same bubble nearby. The hairdo with the stars next to the guy in the hairdo, the handsome hunk here, he represents the idea of charisma and charm. And the reason that's the same with wisdom is that why we would think that charm is more important than courage per se, or even power and wisdom for that matter. And the reason I'll have behind that is that even if power, wisdom, and courage is the ideal lingo, power, wisdom, and charisma has its own truth. Charisma doesn't have to be everything, and that's the reason why people will use universal truths to explain why charisma isn't as important as people make it look like it is. Even though from my perspective it would probably be more important than even they'll point out. And charisma, by example, charisma can actually allow you to build opportunities with people because you put an effort into something that you put an effort into a variable of looks or appearance or style or approach that no one will ever give a chance to. And even this can even tie into things like music or comedy or romance, things of that nature where you don't have to pay attention to those things, or even money. Variables that don't have to matter, but if they were to matter, even if they only potentially matter for a little bit, they have some truth that they can learn from. And that includes the popular things. Popular things can still be important and valuable. They don't have to be overrated or underrated, I guess you could say. Or underrated being less valuable, not always like that. Obviously, we know how it works too already for ourselves, but that's what idea, charisma, and charm. And last but not least, we got the clarity of the valid and sustainable wisdom. Clarity gives us an idea that if something is going to be sustainable, we will have a way to prove that it stays long enough to stick with us. There's a very odd example I make about clarity. In Star Wars, one of the only characters that ever stood the test of time in much of the story, even including the race period for the last 9 of it, the whole saga, was R2-D2, the robot droid. And you could say it was Anakin, but Anakin died before the last 3 episodes, the last 3 movies. So, you know, that's just my oddly weird example right there. Is that R2-D2 stood the test of time. Even if R2-D2 died, I haven't seen that yet, but like I don't know if that happened, but R2-D2, unbeknownst to some ignorances in the plot itself, that's kind of the whole controversy around George Lucas' story being screwed over. But anyways, besides that, we could just say that R2-D2 basically knew in essence that some things happened in the story. Not everything that he knew was actually everything that the story knew. That would be like a reserved for like a Harry Potter Dumbledore kind of thing, because Dumbledore was omniscient in that aspect. Even J.K. Rowling said that once, but like, you know, those are just odd examples. It's like Dumbledore being omniscient, R2-D2 just being an essence of that experience. I still prefer to say experiences in everything. I still prefer to say things are just as good, if not better than experience. That can be also one more video. But clarity for sustainable wisdom, if you know by essence what can actually matter from what you understand or even believe or even can prove to be fact, it is not supposed to be the only way to do it. But if it can stand still for long enough nonetheless to happen to mean something to you, you have achieved a sustainable wisdom that has given you clarity. And that's all I gotta say for now, guys. I will just leave it out there. For a quick review, Ride Point, The Flag, Apples and Oranges, Smarter Template, Monster Under the Bed, Hand Under the Rug, Potential, Inside Culture, Book with a Crown, Quantifiable Numbers being the wrong order or the better order you can pick for, and the hieroglyphs with question marks, Mirrors, Beauty, Sustainable Wisdom with the Hammer and the Brain, Eye, the Eyelashes, Wrench, Hunky Do with Charisma, Clarity. Yes, sir. That is indeed my first mind map graph video. If I put this on Marchscarf, by the way, you won't have to see this on both Tony's Attachment the Inside Floor and Marchscarf, but if I put it on Marchscarf, that's probably because it was a very content video. It's not my first time doing things like this particularly. I've done mind maps before, but not like this scale. So, yeah, I just, thank you guys. This has been quite a long while doing this video, but I don't want to edit it because I don't believe in quality content. It just helps to be able to make something like this and be inspired to do it. The next video I'll probably make later on is going to be about SWOT analysis based on my strategic planning ideas, because I always believed in stuff like that: philosophy, strategic planning, soft skills of that nature. Vlogging, claymation will come back over and over for the main channel. Marchscarf will continue to have other variety of contents including those things. So yeah, I'm probably going to stretch for maybe up to 19 or 20 minutes, but yeah, this is nice. I made this the other night. I didn't want to cap on that, but I made this graph the other night. I was just, this morning, very early morning, I wanted to record it as soon as I could, but yeah, that was nice. I only felt a little bit anxiety making this video. Yeah, because something insightful I'll say for now is, if anyone's still going to be watching this video, the insight I put upon this graph, I know that there's more going on with this than I'm actually explaining right now. There's much more. The vague examples, the actual like implementation of a graph like this, thinking that it's simple, but it's actually really complex and deep. I know that, I do, but I just wanted to be able to get this on my chest and then see if I could go with a video like this. So yeah, I'll make more map videos in the future like this to come. Probably the very next video will either be a SWOT analysis for claymation or SWOT analysis for philosophy. And those are things I can explain maybe in vlogging or some other thing. Soft skills, etc. Yeah. Alright. We'll buy the next 20 seconds for the end card if we put one. Other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll upload this on Marchscarf. I'll upload it maybe on Tony and Cypher if I want to. And we'll see you in the next video. It doesn't have to be another mind map video, but we'll just go over what we got. Okay, 20 minutes, guys. We shall see you without a slogan. Thank you very much. Yeah.